Stacey Abrams actually just launched a huge program to protect voters' rights and help Democrats. Take a look.
The promise of democracy in America depends on free and fair elections. Elections in which every eligible voter can register, cast their ballot, and have their ballot counted. But the scourge of modern voter suppression and broken electoral processes threaten that promise. Heading into the 2020 election cycle, we cannot be successful as Democrats if we allow our democracy to lie in disrepair. We must proactively protect every vote, starting right now.
All right, so it's called the Fair Fight 2020 Initiative, and it takes its name, of course, from the organization that Stacey Abrams, the Georgia Democrat, founded last year after narrowly losing her bid to become the nation's first Black female governor, and very narrowly. And you'll remember the current governor, Brian Kemp, he actually remained as the Secretary of State and refused to step down and stop overseeing the election he was a candidate in. He ended up winning. And instead of running for president, Abrams is doing this. She's gonna focus on helping Democratic Party leaders and activists in 20 states to immediately begin building systems to make sure their voters have minimal problems casting ballots, and that those ballots, are counted. We're talking 20 states, mostly in the Midwest and Southeast, and I love Stacey Abrams. And I think how great of it for someone to be super high profile and decide, you know what? I'm gonna actually get to work and do something to help my people instead of running for president in some weird vanity campaign. Beto. Just kidding, I was a joke, sorry.
Yeah. There's always truth in
Well, okay then.
So much.
Yeah, well, I'll do a non-joke then. So Beto could have run for Senate in Texas, and he should have. Yeah. And so that's a seat we could have picked up, and maybe we could still pick up. But yeah, there's 25 people running for Congress. We got it. I'm sorry, for president. Yeah. And we got that covered. And by the way, Stacey Abrams could have easily been one of them, but then you would have had to act much earlier, right? And so anyway, so I like that she's doing the right thing in this case, but I also like the way she handled it after the election. So as usual with the Democrats, there was like an enormous pressure to bow your head, right? And they're like, okay, say you lost the election. She was like, no, not really. And I love that she did that because she didn't really lose the election. So look, let me give you the details. Brian Kemp stalled more than 50,000 voter registrations by, well, look at that, mostly Black voters. What a coincidence, that's not a coincidence, he's corrupt. And that's systematic racism. And I love the Republican excuse. No, we're just trying to win elections. That's why we don't let Black people vote. You must be so proud. Okay, so then even bigger issue is the voter roll maintenance excuse, where they canceled over 1.4 million votes, voter registration since 2012. And in 2017 alone, right before the election, they canceled nearly 670,000 voter registrations. And yes, they did it mainly to areas that were prone to vote Democratic, including African-American areas. So if they hadn't cheated, and the person who cheated was Brian Kemp, the Secretary of State, who was running for governor, they wouldn't have won. He would not have won, he would not have won, he would not have won if he hadn't cheated. And so I like that she fought afterwards. I like that she's now focusing on it, trying to make sure it doesn't happen anywhere else in the country. I wish the Democratic Party was stronger overall. And when he was continued as Secretary of State while running for governor, they should have screamed bloody murder. They should have. Every ad should have been corrupt Brian Kemp, cheater Brian Kemp who's cheating. Oh no, but that would be impolite to Republicans. You're running against them.
Right.
And it wasn't Stacey Abrams' fault. It's the Democratic Party that is constantly saying, whatever you do, don't offend the sensibilities of Republicans. You're on the other side. Fight for your side, as Stacey Abrams is doing here.
There was something that you said about the voter rolls, and most of the reasoning that they were giving to cancel people's registration was because the signatures didn't match. Signature on your registration didn't match the signature on your driver's license. And she said something in a speech yesterday that her signature doesn't match from Kroger to CVS. And I'm like, that is so real. That would happen to me. My voter registration would have been canceled.
Yeah.
It was so long ago, like, when I signed my driver's license. I found 100%. A prettier beast since then.
Yeah, are you kidding me? Like you know the amount of weight that I've put on since that driver's license? My signature has changed completely over my lifetime. And look, they have 1,000 tricks. Right. They go, oh, if there's two people with the same name, we obviously have to cancel both their registrations. Wait, why is that obvious? There's 1,000, Dan Johnsons, right? And as it turns out, sorry to just finish the thought, minorities have similar names more than white people. Just that happens to be the case in America. Asians have the most similar names. They tend to vote Democratic as well. Latinos second most, African Americans third most. And they're like, oh, really? Oh, well, I guess if anybody's got the same name, we got to cancel all their votes, right?
Like that tells us something. She got more Black Democrats to vote for her than the number of Democrats total that voted all over in the last gubernatorial election. She got more Latino, more Asian American voters to come out and vote for her than ever before in Georgia history. Like, this woman is a powerhouse, and I love that she's putting that just into this.
Well, I also like that she's using her legacy to do something that's very in line with what people know her for anyways, because there's so many political candidates out there that will just, latch on to a trendy cause or an important topic, but they don't have a personal connection to it. And I think what makes this so much more significant is because we watched as she lost her race because of this same issue. And so because of that, there's so much more, just as an observer, we just buy into it so much more. It feels so much more sincere and authentic. And because of that authenticity, I think that she has the determination to actually fight for it, as opposed to someone else who just thinks it's, the nice thing to talk about for now.
I think the other thing that it proves, to Brooke's point, is that you might want to turn out your base. If you turn out your base, you might even win in places like Georgia. And if they hadn't cheated, they would have won in a place like Georgia, because Stacey Abrams did a great job of actually appealing to Democratic voters, which a lot of the corporate Democrats don't do. They're like, oh my God, if we could just win 3 Republicans in the suburbs. And Stacey Abrams was like, no, how about we win our own voters and we win this election?
Oh, that's a good point.
But then there's also the problem of just like other methods of voter suppression. Like, you can have your base turn out, but when they go there, they can't vote, then that's a problem. Or if they go there and that polling place in that specific neighborhood has very few people working and the lines are 2 hours, 3 hours long, that's a problem. I remember seeing that in Arizona multiple times over the years where I cover the 2016 election, for example, both the primaries and the actual election. There were certain parts of Maricopa County, for example, where the lines were absolutely insane. And was it just coincidence that those happen to be areas where there might be either more minority voters, more liberal voters? I'm not going to say anything, but I know that I lived in Paradise Valley, which was very white.
Just gotta do it for us.
I'm just saying, I lived in Paradise Valley, which was very white. And when I went to go vote, my line was maybe like 10 people long, and the guy across from me was wearing his Make America Great Again hat. So I'm just saying that was my experience. But when I went to work and I saw the choppers and the live feeds of the people lined up around buildings, I was like, well, that's not what it looked like in my neighborhood.
Yeah, we just need a strong Democratic Party. That every time this comes up, they've got to fight like hell. Instead, they just usually slink away and surrender. So I hope that this group is going to take the fight to them. By the way, if you're covering Brian Kemp, you should always call him the illegitimate governor of Georgia. Well, hey, you made it this far. You must really like the Young Turks. Thank you. We really appreciate you. Now, another easy way to keep supporting us also helps keep your internet activities and data private, all with a push of the NordVPN app. Head to nordvpn.com/TYT right now for 75% off of your next 3 years.